Hey there, my name's Jona. Thanks for checking out this video. Today we're going to be checking out a card game called Canopy. While I don't get compensated or really make any money off of these videos, I was gifted Canopy by the designer. Canopy is a tableau-style card game for 2 players, and it's themed around the ecosystem of a rainforest. It was published by Weird City Games and designed by Tim Eisner. It's played over 3 seasons, and each season marks the end of a round when a season deck is depleted. So this is a game of drafting and set collection. On your turn, you have one job, and that is to draft a pile of cards from the center of the table. So there's a number 1 deck, a number 2 deck, and number 3 deck. They're called new growth piles. What you do on your turn is you will pick up one pile and look at all the cards that it contains and decide whether they're cards you want to play into your forest or your tableau. If you decide you're going to keep those cards, you must immediately play them, and then you replenish the deck with a new face-down card from the season deck. If you decide to pass, then you return all the cards to the pile and put a new card face down on that pile, and then you move on to the next one. And you do the same thing for the rest of the piles. If you decide not to keep any of the piles for whatever reason, you have to draw one card blind from the season deck, and that card must be played into your tableau immediately. Now, the cards in Rainforest are made up of canopy cards, which are the tops of the trees, different trunks of trees that have different scoring points, plant cards, animal or wildlife cards as they call them in the game, weather cards, threat cards, and new seed cards. Now when the season deck is depleted, that means that that's the end of the round, and you're going to score what is in your rainforest that round. You're going to be scoring your trees, your plants, the weather, the threat cards, and the seed cards. The animal cards may activate different abilities at the end of the round, however they are not scored until the end of the game. Plant cards have different requirements for scoring. While the trees, the taller they are, the more points you're going to gain for those. However, you can only score trees that have canopies on top of them. Once a tree has a canopy, it can no longer grow, and a little animal token will be placed on that tree to remind you that it's already been scored. The weather cards require balance. You must have a rain card for every sun card to gain the 5 points. The threats also require balance as well. While that sounds like a bad thing, the threat cards kind of help you weed out cards that may not be helpful for your tableau, but if you get too many of them, it may cause you to lose some of your plants or animals, and it could even cause your opponent to lose plants and animals. Now, the seed cards provide you an opportunity to add even more cards to your tableau during the scoring phase. The seed cards allow you to look at least 3 seed cards before deciding which one to pick. You get to look at even more depending on how much wildfire is in your tableau. And then you get to keep as many of those seed cards as you have seeds in your tableau currently. Extra points are given to the tallest tree at the end of the round, and at the end of the game, wildlife cards are all scored. The animals have different effects throughout the entire game, but if you're able to collect 2 of an animal, you gain points at the end of the game for those. You also get an extra 10 points for having the largest forest of trees at the end of the game. You keep track of points by little leaf tokens that have different quantities on them, so at the end of the game you'll be adding those all up to see who's the winner. Before we move on, this is your little reminder to please subscribe if you're new to my channel. Canopy is very simplistic in its base rules, but the cards that you collect offer new conditions for all of those rules. When I first played Canopy, I mixed all the cards together, which is exactly what you're told not to do in the rule book. There's the base game cards and then the advanced cards, which add extra conditions and rules to the gameplay. So when I first played it, it was overwhelming, and I actually wasn't sure if I liked it at all. But after I've played it, now I'm more familiar with what different cards do, and because the rules are simple, because the mechanics of drafting are really simple, I've really grown to like it, and I even find it rather addictive. The addictive part for me is the drafting, the pulling from a pile, and then trying to decide whether you want to keep what you have in your hand or see what else is out there. It's a little bit of a push your luck, but you're also debating whether you want your opponent to have the cards as well. So there's some fun decision making there, but ultimately for me, it's addictive just because I want to see what else is out there. A couple of my favorite cards in Canopy is the Poison Dart Frog. This card allows you to add a new card to each pile before you draft. Another one that I really liked is the Howler Monkey, which allows you to discard a pile once you've passed it. The wildlife cards, which are typically all the animal or creature cards, are played if they have special activities. It's usually you get to play it once per round or at the end of the round. There's very few mean cards, but a lot of cards that allow you to manipulate what you can do during drafting and also to up your score at the end of the game, which I really like. I really like these seed cards. They feel a little bit like a layaway system, and it allows you to kind of edit your tableau, maybe complete a tree you didn't quite get finished, or complete a set that you didn't quite get enough cards for. Canopy does come with a solo and a 3 to 4 player variant. I didn't play with a 3 to 4 player, but I did play solo several times, and I actually enjoyed it. And if you guys are familiar with my videos, you know I'm not a big solo player. In the solo variant, you're playing against a forest spirit opponent, and they have a few rules that are slightly different than in normal play. So I like that. It's not a whole lot to manage. You can basically just play like you do normally, except you're playing 2 hands instead of 1, and some of the scoring is a little bit different. For example, the forest spirit gets double wildlife points, so you want to make sure you draft very carefully and try and keep them from getting all the animals. I got 92 points. They got 144 points. Trust me, I learned the hard way. So the artwork in Canopy is obviously beautiful, and I actually included it in my most stunning board game video that I did the other month. The artistry, it really is, and part of the reason why I opened all the cards immediately when I got it was because I wanted to see the artwork. So I couldn't help it. They were so pretty. I really enjoy that it's a small box and doesn't take up a whole lot of space. And I also appreciate that for environmental reasons, which brings us to the part of the video where we talk about sustainability in board gaming. So for eco-friendliness, this game gets 4 stars out of 10. Future Jona popping in here to make a correction. Canopy actually gets 5 stars for eco-friendliness, and that's because I forgot to mention the most obvious one, that Canopy does not have any plastic components in it. No plastic meeples or dice or anything of that nature. So it definitely gets a star for that, which is actually a really high score. Don't get me wrong. The 10 is a very, very, very high goal to reach. I have the 10 stars so that there's lots of different opportunities for us to talk about sustainability in board gaming. It's not necessarily like a goal that I know a game can achieve at this point. The first reason for a star is that the designer went to a lot of effort to reduce single-use plastic in this game. It didn't come shrink wrapped, it didn't come with plastic wrapping on the cards, and it didn't even come with plastic baggies. Everything is stored in paper envelopes, and the seals were done with little plastic stickers. It wasn't 100% zero plastic, but it was greatly reduced. The second star is because this game came with a cardboard insert to divide the cards up rather than plastic, which is good. The plastic card inserts usually mean that the game is a little bit bloated, tends to be bigger, which increases the carbon footprint overall, and then that plastic insert isn't really a desirable recyclable plastic, it's just an extra hunk of junk, basically. So I'm really happy to see when designers decide to opt out of the plastic inserts. The third star is for sustainability statement because Tim Eisner made an effort to talk about sustainability in his board game creation, and so he's really leading the way in sustainability in board game creation, which I love to see. I love to see this conversation happening. Also, a tree was planted for each game that was sold, which is really cool. It's through the Tree Ceaser Foundation. Now, I don't feel that planting trees is a real tangible way to offset carbon emissions, but it is a nice sentiment and I'm happy to see it. When a brand is able to plant more trees, I appreciate it. So we have a little bit of a issue with the 4th star because while the retail version of Canopy had no spot UV on it, the deluxe edition did. So we're gonna cut that star in half because spot UV is really a microplastic. I did a whole video about why spot UV is not a trend we want to support in our board gaming hobby. The final half a star comes from the fact that there's no FFC in the retail version, but the deluxe edition had wooden pieces that were FFC certified wood. FFC stands for Forest Stewardship Council, and it helps to guard against deforestation and other harmful logging practices. So I think that's really cool, and I'm glad to see that he is talking about using responsibly sourced wood in his game. Even though the paper products weren't FFC, the wood was. So I appreciate that he did go to the effort to use that type of wood for the wooden pieces in the deluxe edition. I love this opportunity to be able to talk about all these eco-friendly efforts that were put into Canopy. Overall, I enjoy Canopy for its small box size, for its beautiful work, and its addictive mechanic of drafting cards into your rainforest. So I'm giving it 4 pips out of 6. Thank you so much for watching this review of Canopy. If you have any thoughts about sustainability and board gaming, please leave them in the comments below. I always love engaging with people on this topic, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.